But we are thrilled to have Don Rudolph here. He's going to talk about lime kilns. So lime, as you may know, was an essential ingredient in building the pioneer structures of Door County. In fact, many houses and barn foundations that are still in use today were constructed with the lime mortar produced in one of Door County's 600 lime kilns. Don Rudolph will explain the lime making process, show a short video of a kiln fired and burning limestone, and help us learn how to identify former lime kilns and show the location of known lime kiln sites throughout the county. Am I saying kiln wrong? Is it kiln? Kiln. Oh. Don's interest in lime kilns began many years ago when he was helping a neighbor farmer log some cedar. They continually passed a strange-looking pile of rocks that aroused his curiosity. The farmer explained at one time the piles of rocks were a working lime kiln. Through the Door County Library newspaper archive, he found the owner and operator of this particular lime kiln and learned that it was in use for nearly 30 years. And since that time, Don has been on a quest to find all of Door County's lime kilns. Don's love for history and farming comes from his ancestors. His great-grandfather, Johann Gottlieb Rudolph, and his family settled in the German settlement east of Ephraim in 1869. That was a year after Evelyn House was constructed, by the way. His grandfather, Julius Karl Rudolph, moved from Liberty Grove to Sebastopol in 1899 to find a better farming property. His father, Edgar Rudolph, also a farmer, told numerous historical stories, and Don, always happy to listen and lucky enough to remember these stories. And I just heard that he has a phenomenal memory, so how wonderful is that? Along with his wife Donna and their son David, he continues to farm on this century-old homestead. Don and Donna are founding members of the Sebastopol Historical Society and are members of the Door County Historical Society as well. So please join me in welcoming Don Rudolph.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the invitation to come and give my presentation on lime kilns. We're going to start out with a video that was made in England. It'll show you a little bit how dirty and dangerous the job was.
At the farm, the most pressing concern is neutralizing the acidic soil with quicklime. 10 tons of it. Quicklime was a wonder material of the Edwardian age. Not only was it used in farming, but it was the basis of cement and plaster. It's made by heating limestone, essentially chalk, to over 900 degrees in a kiln.
Our first bit of lime.
Something almost every Edwardian town would have had.
These are the raw materials for our lime burn. We've got the limestone here and the coal, all brought in by barge. Most effective way to bring it in. So now we've got the raw materials, Peter, we just have to find ourselves a kiln.
So here's our lime kiln then.
Anthony's brought the boys to the kilns at Morwellham Quay.
It's one of two, and they actually probably were being used up until the Edwardian period. Limestone brought up from quarries from Oreston on the outskirts of Plymouth, all built over now, and coal from South Wales. And to make quicklime, which is what you need for your fields, you basically burn layers of limestone with coal, right. And it converts the limestone into this stuff called quicklime, the lump lime, quite small pieces, which you can then pull out from the bottom, and that's what you then spread on your fields.
Well, Mr. Mudge reckons we need approximately 10 tonnes of lump lime to go on our fields.
Well, do we need to measure it and find out exactly how much this is going to make then?
I think we should.
Because we could end up with heaps of it all over the place, and goodness knows what we're going to do with it then.
Rather than a little bit extra.
Yes, yes.
Measuring the kiln is proving to be a mathematical challenge.
5 times 5 is 25.
Yeah.
Times by pi, what's pi? 3.14?
Make it 3.
Okay, 75. Times that by the depth.
How are we going to work out the depth?
If you hold one end and abseil down...
So, 20 times 75, that's 2 times 750. 1,500. That's cubic feet. How many tonnes is that?
I've no idea.
That's over 50 tonnes of quicklime. They need just 10.
It's highly caustic stuff, Peter. A ton of it is bad enough, and you want 50 tons of it.
Okay.
It's late September. After a long search, Alex and Peter have found a smaller lime kiln that should produce the 10 tons of quicklime they need.
This is it, yeah?
This is it.
I think this is far more manageable.
In this kiln, limestone will be heated to 900 degrees.
Easy to fire, so hopefully at the end of the 4 days here you'll have some lime to be able to use on your project.
Fantastic.
Stafford Homes helped restore the kiln and will be in charge of loading it.
Well, these are certainly in much better condition, these kilns, than the ones we've got down in Morwellham.
Well, they should be. They've been very carefully repaired.
When were these kilns in operation?
The last time they were burnt continuously was probably around the 1950s.
So this is limestone, and we need to turn this into quicklime.
That's right.
And how do we do that?
We apply heat to it basically, and that involves, with this kiln, creating a fire at the bottom, which we start with wood, then we put a layer of coal, and then layers of limestone, layers of coal, right up to the top of the kiln.
Well, I suppose the fumes are toxic coming out the top.
That's right, yes. It's something which, you know, you have to respect. The whole process, you know, involves a lot of chemistry, but the reality is it's a very caustic material. It can burn your skin. So we've got to be very sensible about the way we go about this.
It's Peter's job to ensure the critical first layer of limestone is spread evenly.
Right. Watch yourself.
Looking good.
Next, a layer of coal. Then another layer of limestone.
Will be 25 shovelfuls.
Stafford's concerned that unless the amounts in each layer are precise, a constant 900 degrees won't be maintained, and no quicklime will be produced.
So we're looking at quite a few layers here, aren't we?
Total of 15 layers of fuel and 15 layers of stone. 100 kilograms, 20 shovels.
So every shovelful is counted in.
18, 19.
But the level of precision necessary means the loading is taking longer than the boys had hoped. By early evening, there's barely a ton loaded.
Moon's out. Let's hope we've got enough moonlight.
It's late, and the kiln's barely half full. Loading it by hand is taking its toll.
28. 30. Oh no, stop!
31.
What do I do?
He's becoming delirious.
33. Doing this completely by hand has given us a real insight into what it must have been like to load these things. I mean, they would have had trains delivering the materials here, but I wouldn't have been surprised if these have to be stacked in this way, that it would have been a man with a shovel doing all this work.
After 18 hours of shoveling, 12 tons of limestone and 3 tons of coal have been loaded.
There we go.
That's it all in.
Finally, it's time to light the kiln.
Ready for an ember, yeah? Where do you want it? Just here?
On the paper, yeah, just get the paper going.
It's getting exciting here. And it's starting to go.
Gases produced by burning limestone include the deadly carbon monoxide.
Wow.
There's no going back now. It's as if somebody down below is stoking some
Hellfire.
some hellfire, some mysterious brew, really, isn't it? During the 19th and early part of the century, when there was a lot of rural poverty around, people who were on the road would come and sort of sleep around the kilns. And if the carbon monoxide rendered them unconscious and they turned over, rolled into the furnace, there was no way back. They were roasted alive.
Now they must take it in turns to keep watch on the lime kiln for 3 days and 3 nights.
Oh my word. You can just really get a sense now of what it would have been like to have been lime burning in these kilns over 100 years ago.
But as they check the fire below, it's clear all's not well.
Fire is burning too low. We need it to be burning higher. We should see glowing cherry red limestone. At the moment we just see blackness, darkness, and it's all cold in there.
They need to get as much air into the kiln as possible to make it burn hotter. If the fire goes out now, it would be disastrous. For 2 days, the lime burners have been tending the kiln, trying to get as much air into the fire as possible. But Colin's still concerned.
The worry is that if there's not enough air going in, it can actually go out.
So we would have to shovel everything out and that would be it, a failure.
Yeah, it would be raking it out. We had a big hole to put it in at the top, and a little one to get it out at the bottom.
Yeah,
So
it would take ages.
It would.
All they can do is hope their efforts haven't been in vain.
There's one sure way to test whether this limestone's been burnt or not, and that's to add it to water. And if it's been burnt through, it should slake. If it hasn't been burnt through, it will just remain as a stone.
Okay, let's see it go in then. Not a lot going on there, is there? There it goes. Doubted it. Wow!
There it goes.
Look at that! That's excellent! It's amazing.
That's the transformation from limestone to quicklime to lime putting, which is what we're after. And if the rest of the kiln's like that, then we're in business.
It's the 3rd day of the burn, and all the limestone should have turned into quicklime. Now the dangerous part, unloading the kiln. Quicklime dust reacts violently with moisture, so if it touches skin or is inhaled, it will burn. Time for some Edwardian health and safety.
As I am likely to sweat an awful lot whilst doing this because of the heat of the kiln and just the physical activity, I've made myself some protective gear. So I have my hood. People will laugh, but I think I shall have the last laugh. I even made myself some mittens. Long sleeve numbers. Oh. I've got an apron here. I'm going all out for this. Can't see a thing. Last thing, goggles. I say goggles, they're more like shades. There we go. I'm ready to deal with a quicklime.
Let me take these off so I can see. You're like a giant teddy bear. Right, well, with all that gear then, I suppose you should be the one that's right in at the stoke hole, yeah?
Yeah, the coal face.
The burn should have produced 10 tons of quicklime, all of which must be unloaded by hand.
It truly is an awful job.
The mesh is used to separate the quality quicklime from the spoil.
Ah, this is killing me. Probably quite literally. Right.
So here we go, it's the final process of the day. this highly caustic substance going into our barrel, and then we can get this back to the farm. But it's an absolute joy to have got so far. Here we have it, caustic lime. It's what we came for, and it's what we're going to come away with.
After 3 days of back-breaking work, they've produced 10 tons of quicklime.
That gave you some idea of what the process involved.
Yes.
Difference in England is they were using charcoal, and here in the United States they were using leftover pine and tamarack slashings because it was free. People were trying to get rid of that when they were clearing the land. What is a lime kiln? Why was lime needed? Lime was needed to make mortar, plaster, whitewash, used as a disinfectant, and also as a pesticide. How does a historic lime kiln work? You take carbon calcium, and add heat, and you get carbon oxide and CO2, which is burned off, which makes quicklime. Quicklime is the chunks of stone that you see you needed to add water to, and it lasted for about 3 weeks before the carbon dioxide went back into the stone. That's why it's always advertised in the papers, fresh lime. The masons wanted fresh lime. What was used for fuel? Hemlock was preferred, but they also used pine stumps and tamarack, something that burned very quickly and very hot and didn't leave any deposit of ash. Where were lime kilns located? In quarries, on the side of limestone ridges, and amazingly some were located in the middle of nowhere. Well, this is a historic picture of the Gardner School, which is no longer standing. But notice it says Lime Kiln Road. There's also a Lime Kiln Road in the town of Liberty Grove. How was the quantity of lime measured? In large barrels, which weigh 280 pounds, small barrels, which were 180 pounds, and bushels, which are 80 pounds. These are the standards were established in 1916. And the interesting thing about that is 1916 is basically the end of the lime kiln era. So there were no official standards until right when it was finished. I do have a question. Any idea how much a barrel of lime went for? Any guesses?
10 cents.
Very close, 45 cents. For all that labor. Following is a list of the lime kilns that I found from the Door County Advocate archives. Starting in the town of Brussels, the Polacek brothers, referred to in 1910. H. Malvitz and F. Miller, 1907. Located off Stevenson Pier Road. This is what's left of their lime kiln. And if you witness an active lime kiln in the old days, you'll notice that there's these white chips that surround the lime kiln. And there's no vegetation because it is so alkaline. Organic matter can't grow after 100 years in that spot. Town of Forestville, August Fluget, 1896. He had 2 kilns, which means he was a big-time operator. One kiln was burning and one kiln was cooling off. Lewis Larson, located 2 miles north of Carnet. George Peters, 1 mile south of Carnet. Interesting thing about George Peters is he also owned the Brussels Brickyard, just south of Brussels on Sea, where the Park and Ride is located right now. And Ferdinand Stibbs, located near Carnet. He was a farmer and mason, 1907. This is August Flugett's wine kiln, which has since been demolished and turned into farmland. Claybanks, West Rickaby, 1890, near the Sturgeon Bay town line. And Emil Helmholtz and Brothers, 1906. They used 40-year-old pine stumps for fuel. Town of Gardner, Judd Copley, near Newmansville. Anybody ever heard of Newmansville?
No, where's that?
We're trying to find out. August W. Newman was a mover and shaker from 1900 to 1907 when he went broke. He had a blacksmith shop, a lumber yard, a grist mill, and a tavern, all of which simply disappeared off the face of the earth. So that's one of our detective stories. We're trying to find out where exactly Newmansville is located.
Would it be like Carlsville that's not really incorporated, but everybody knows the Carlsville?
I would say at one time, he was the mover and shaker, the mayor of Newmansville. And when he went broke, the businesses either were torn down or moved away.
Don, didn't you say that it was Stevenson, didn't you come up with that it was the Stevenson Pier area?
Well, it's near there. F.B. Gardner, who was Thomas Gardner's named after, 1866 to 1898, he started with some small wine kilns and ended up with what they call a patent wine kilns. By patent wine kilns, they meant they were continuously operating. They were feeding from the top and taking from the bottom instead of in batches. George Tenor, or Tenor, that's is now called, on Stevenson Pier Road, 1912, and Henry Meyer, 1896. These are F.B. Gardner's continuously run lime kilns. They ran for about 20 years with different owners, none of whom were as successful as F.B. Gardner, because he built it right after the Chicago fire, when there was a tremendous demand for lime for rebuilding.
Those are the ones you see on Green Bay?
Yes.
South of Old Sturgeon?
Yes, exactly. This is a close-up picture. This is the Tenor lime kiln. Notice the white chips surrounding it. That's located at Stevenson Pier Road. Town of Union, Joseph Charles, 1904. We have no idea where that one was located. Town of Nassaupi, John Spooty, who is related to my wife. The Spooties were well-known masons, Southern Door area for many years. He provided lime for the Maplewood Catholic Church. And his neighbor was Emil Erdman, who also had a lime kiln and probably in direct competition. And John Dufek, kiln located near Stokes. Everybody know where Stokes is?
I do. I went to the Stokes School there.
Want to say where it is, Marcia?
It's on the highway, actually, it's where, the insurance, the Schmitz Insurance.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, right there.
There used to be a school there, and a cheese
Yes.
factory, blacksmith shop.
And that, where the insurance was a bar.
Bar
It
and
was a
hall.
bar. The dance hall.
Archie Myers.
Archie Myers
Archie
place.
Myers. Correct.
Where is that exactly?
On the highway, on,
Coming home,
Yeah.
57, about 3 miles.
right,
south of
like you're
Sturgeon.
going
Oh.
south of Sturgeon Bay, like you're going towards Green Bay.
Oh.
Before you get to the YN, you know where the
Okay,
YN is?
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Town of Sturgeon Bay. Dan Scott.
Speak up.
Town of Sturgeon Bay, Dan Scott, 1893. Fred Krieger, 1881. Clark and Anderson, 1882. Michael Baker, 82. And Strom and Bavery, 85.
Down at Clark and Anderson, 1 3/4 miles east of Sturgeon Bay, what road would that be on now? Is that like TT?
I don't know, they call it Lily Bay Road in the archives. Yeah. So I would say it would be somewhere near 18th Avenue.
And didn't you say there was one that was like right down in town in Sturgeon Bay?
We're coming to that.
Oh.
John Solway, originally called Salveson, early settler in Sturgeon Bay, became John Falk's Kiln. And that's actually wrong. It's located at 4th in Florida. There's just a little bit of a indentation in the ground in front of the house where you can see there was a quarry at one time. Interestingly enough, by about 1909, the residents of Sturgeon Bay were filing petitions to close it down because of the smoke and the ash and the noise. M.V. Kokums, 1906, became Louis Nebel Kiln. Nebel is an old Door County name you probably all recognize. That was located just north of the Solway Quarry. You can still see evidence at 4th and Alabama Street. And Frank Londo, 1901, located west of Egg Harbor Road. Don't know exactly where that was located. Bayview or Sawyer, Elijah S. Fuller, 1859 to 1895, is the first recorded lime kiln in Door County. The kiln was located at 340 North Joliet Avenue. When they were building the house, they found the remnants of the lime kiln built right next to the side of the stone ridge. And E.W. Brewster also operated a kiln in conjunction with the quarry. Charles Schaefer built a new lime kiln in 1895. This is the quarry for E.W. Brewster. Town of Sebastopol, Robert Laurie, quarry and lime kiln. And one thing to know about the Laurie lime, lime kiln is the building stone was the most valuable stone. For instance, Greystone Castle, or the old Banks of Sturgeon Bay, that's what you wanted to use your stone quarry for. And the second most valuable commodity was for building bridges and piers. And in the quarry business, whatever was left over was turned into lime. So they used up everything they had. Adam Simon, 2 kilns located north of St. Joseph's Cemetery on Egg Harbor Road. Adam Simon was in business for about 25 years and advertised in almost every weekly paper that he had fresh lime for sale. And the lime kiln that got me started was Dominic Kemp, located off Forest Road, 1877. And also John Bishnow. He had 2 kilns on the Schmegel farm. He said business is booming. 1 year later, he was moved to Kansas. There's Irv Schmegel standing in front of one of the lime kilns. We actually lit the lime kiln on fire. It was filled full of stumps and posts and brush from many years ago. And as you can see by the flame,
How tall was that lime kiln?
about 7 feet tall and about 6 feet in diameter. And it operates just like a blowtorch. It was simply amazing. You just put some newspapers and some rags in, and it took off like a furnace.
From on the lower end, Don, you started it on the lower side?
Yes, correct. Through the vent at the bottom, which is how they regulated the temperature. They would close off the hole, allowing the amount of drop to change, trying to keep the temperature at 900 degrees. Warren Thomas Sebastopol, Joseph and Neely, located on Bayshore Drive, where Bayshore Inn is, was a quarry at one time. Peter Groff, his kiln collapsed on the first firing and was rebuilt. Dennis Roman built the kiln in 1903. He was killed in 1904 by a falling tree, left a widow and 6 children. And John Long, his kiln was located off Forest Road. Actually, it's off of Matthew Road, just south of the farm, on Highway 57. You see a stone ridge, which was formerly an orchard. That's where the lime kiln was built. This is a reproduction lime kiln at the farm on Highway 57. This is the Groff lime kiln, whatever's left of it. Town of Egg Harbor, Frank LaPlante had a new kiln built by Vet Judd, a farmer and mason from Juddville, in 1921, which is surprising because that was way at the end of the lime kiln era. And John Miller, 1907 and 1915. I have no idea where that one is located. Town of Jacksonport, Carl Bernstein. His lime kiln was famous enough that it was located on the 1899 platform. But interestingly enough, it was also spelled as Carl Bornstein. So when you go to the archives, you never know what kind of spelling people use. They used to put in different. That's a picture of the Bernstein lime kiln. You can see that it was a big kiln. Must have been in big production. That kiln is no longer there. It was put in for fill when the road was built.
Wow.
Notice all the chips at the base of the lime kiln.
Is he guarding that thing, Don? He's got a gun there, doesn't he?
Yeah, they both have guns. I don't know why. Pretty valuable commodity.
I don't know.
Bailey's Harbor, Oliver Champeau, 1895. And David Champeau, his brother, 1888. Apparently they were competing against each other. And Frank LaPlante, 1.5 miles south of Peninsula Center. Frank was known as the lime kiln man of Jacksonport, but his kiln was in Bailey's Harbor. And I don't know if anybody's related to him or not, but in 1936 he was arrested for illicit liquor. So he also made moonshine on the side. Charles Kapiski, 1917. Barry Peterson and Martin Simon, 1916. And the Toft Kiln, which is the kiln pictured on the first slide I had, located on the Toft property, northeast of Bailey's Harbor. This is Frank LaPlante's lime kiln, just south of Peninsula Center and just north of the Bailey's Harbor Jacksonport town line. These are the remnants of 2 lime kilns in downtown Bailey's Harbor, right next to the Bailey's Harbor School. We haven't been able to figure out who the operator of that is. We hope to. This is a picture of the Toft Kiln. Another picture from the top angle. Gibraltar, William A. Hogan, from 1909 to 1925. Last ad in the Advocate for Lyme was 1926, located near Greenwood. We're still trying to find out exactly where that was located. M.F. Kalmbach, Lime Kiln in Fish Creek, 1866, another very early one. The J. Kriska, 1899 plat book located in section 10. And Fred Gray Sr., corner of County Truckee and Jugville Road. And that kiln is right in the ditch line. You can still see the vast majority of it as you drive by. Liberty Grove, C. Cadanco, located on the 1899 plat book. He had 2 lime kilns, located at the west end of Lime Kiln Road. And A. Strandle, 1899 plat book, half a mile east of Ellison Bay near the Mink River. And Diamond and Razor, 1918 in Sister Bay. This is the obituary for Frank LaPlante, calling him the Lime Man. That was the end of the line. Sheetrock. It took about 25 years for sheetrock to take effect, but it was so much faster and easier. Sheetrock took the place of plaster. So, are there any questions?
Yes. Walking around or hunting things and hiking around in York County, you see a lot of real small, what appears to be lime kilns. There's a lot of homeowners or people that are building barns make their own lime.
That's a really good question. I know it is possible, but I doubt it. A lot of people made their own lime.
They were generally, there'd be 3 feet wide. They were kind of dug into a slope lined with stones, maybe 3-4 feet high, and then maybe 5-6 feet deep. Like almost like a fireplace, stone fireplace in the town. I remember through the years seeing a bunch of those here and there. And I knew there had something to do with lime, but they not like these commercial operations here.
I honestly can't answer that question. Yes, sir.
I understood that dolomite doesn't give you the quality of lime that pure calcium carbonate does. Is that true?
Well, there is a difference in lime among the stone ridges in York County. Some people's lime was higher quality than other people's lime. So I wouldn't doubt that for a minute. They didn't show it, but in England, a lot of times they use seashells. They also use seashells for aggregate and concrete. Yes.
Back in the beginning of the slideshow, there was a picture of it was a school out on County C.
Garden school.
I don't know what it was called. I've just always, every time I've gone past it, it looks like nothing ever, that's one, yeah. And that used to be a school, and the reason it's in this slideshow is because it's made out of limestone.
Says Lime Kiln Road.
Okay, I didn't hear what you said. So
Different
okay, it's
location.
Lime Kiln Road, yeah. And it's now torn down.
The school is torn down. School is torn down, but the lime kiln still stay.
But nobody's ever tried to model out or rehab it or anything.
It's been abandoned for about, I'd say 30 years.
He hadn't been in that school since first grade.
Any other questions? Yes.
Why did you explain why it stopped? Why people stopped having lime kilns? But why did they really start? Was this the way lime has been made for 1,000 years? And it just happened to be people in Door County, or?
Well, it's part of the evolution of the building process in Door County. When people first moved here, they built log cabins. Of course, because it was free. It's always free and cheap. That's the answer to development. And when they were cutting down the forests, they'd build log cabins and they'd put them on flat stone, or maybe no stone at all, maybe just right on the surface of the dirt. When they decided to build more permanent buildings, they put foundations underneath. And foundations required mortar to hold the stone together. So all these old barns you see, they all have old house foundations for mortar. They all have lime for mortar.
So it wouldn't just be Door County, it would be other communities as they go from log cabins to whatever.
Door County was just blessed with an incredible raw material source.
Right.
And people were looking to make money however they possibly could. One thing to take away from this, I hope, is how hard and how dangerous pioneer life was and how difficult it was to make money. To imagine putting that time and effort into making 45 cents a barrel and risking your health to begin with. Yes, sir.
At one point you mentioned how long the line would last, and I don't remember that would be fresh and usable.
3 weeks.
That's it.
That's it.
So, can they get it to a place like Chicago and Milwaukee fast enough for it to be used? Or would they ship it from here?
They would ship it immediately.
Okay.
A lot of it went to Marinette and Menominee as well, because those areas were not cleared as fast as the North Peninsula. But then there was a giant commercial wine operation started up in Menominee, and that was the end of that.
If it was over 3 weeks, what happened to the things? I mean, it just went, turned back to.
You would turn back to stone.
Nothing.
You would turn back to stone and no longer have a chemical reaction when you put the water into it.
So it could be used as a stone, but not to cement it.
Well, it would be just small chunks of stone.
Oh.
So the only thing it can be used for is fill.
Could it be refilled?
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that.
What was the question?
Could it be rekilled once it was?
Any other questions? Yes.
Do we know anything about how many people died from the carbon monoxide that was produced in the kilns in Door County?
I don't know the answer to that, but an interesting observation is in the paper, E.S. Fuller was well known for having the limestone and Sawyer, and they'd say, E.S. Fuller has opened up the gates of hell again. If you have ever heard the term dancing in the limelight or acting in the limelight, that was caused by burning lime. That was how they lit up the stage. So you can imagine the giant kiln at night lit up the whole sky. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much.